Hey everybody, Carl and Erynn here, and it's guitar time on the Patreon site. It's Little Sally Ann, an A modal tune. We're doing the guitar backup. Snake Chapman from Kentucky, who Paul David Smith played with, and just a wonderful tune. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it on whatever instrument you're playing there. The guitar right now, and we'll get Erynn to play it for us and talk about how to back it up. Here we go. Little Sally Ann. Thank you, Erynn. That's a wonderful fiddle tune.
It is one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's a great one. And Snake Chapman did a lot of great tunes. If you haven't checked out Snake Chapman's fiddling, he's a good one you'll find a lot of great tunes and be inspired by it for sure. So I'm going to slide in there a little bit and we'll just look at the A modal tunes have a G in there sometimes. This one is interesting, and that's something a lot of times, the G notes in a melody, you can just play the A chord too. So you'll listen to different backup people and see what they do. In this case, I'm going to put a G in there when that G note arrives in the melody, and I think that sounds fun. But you can also stay on the A, and that's a little different there. So it's good to try different things and see what you like, And in this case, what we're doing, let's just think about the chords of the first part for a second. It's got an A chord going for A chord for a few times, and gets to a G here on the melody, and we're putting a G on that second half of the beat there. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, A, split to G. We're going to have a D chord, 2, 3, 4, and split that measure to E. So we're kind of doing this splitting the measures there, which is cool. And it does that again, A, it's going to go to G again, and we're going to do a walk, and then we split the D and E for the little turnaround. That's the first part. And some of the things we're going to do for the D chord, it stays there. Sometimes we're going to do the 4th and the 5th string and a thumb hook that bass string, which is the same note you have on the 1st string, 2nd fret, and F sharp in actual tone. So 4, 5, and the thumb hook, and then the E chord. We'll do that sometimes. And we'll have an option of maybe doing the D string, 4th string, and going up to the E 4th string note when you hit the E chord. So you'll have a lot of possibilities. So the first part, I'll just do it here for you for a second. I'm using the 5th string and the 4th string with the A chord. And of course, in the key of A, you can do the A chord many different ways. Some people just bar the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string and don't even strum the 1st string. So think about your inside strumming and high string strumming. So you can do it that way. You can also put 3 in a row like that, or you can also do like a triangle there. So I think I do it all kinds of different ways. So however you do your A, just realize there's other ways to do it, which might be an advantage sometimes, as depending on where you're going from that A chord. So here we have the 5th string and the 4th string, and we're going to walk the bass up, open, 2, 3 to a G chord and a strum. Just that's all you get for that G chord, the bass and the strum. So let's do that one more time. A chord, 5 and 4, walk the 6th string open, 2, 3, and strum. A D chord, we're going to go stay there, 4, 5, and that thumb hook to the E chord, 6th string. Starts again, 5 and 4 for the A, and walk that bass. We'll do the same G walk. And now here you can do either the thumb hook. I'm going to do the 4th string and the E chord. So D to E, A. And some kind of turnaround. You can do a little, that's what I've got on the tab. Just remember, a lot of times I like that when I get to that G, I I do the D thumb hook if I want to stay on that low string. So whole first part. So 1, 2, the first part. Da, 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 G walk. Bum, 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 D, 4, bum, thumb hook. Do the E, do A chord, walk that G. This time I'll do the 4th string, D, E. That's the first time through, and I have a little bass walk, start and back, little short walk. A chord, 5 and 4, walk to G. D chord, stay there, 4, 5, thumb hook to the E. And this time we might try something different. A, walk to G. I'm gonna do the thumb hook this time just to see what it sounds like. Thumb hook and E. See, stay on that low string. That's nice too. And I've got a little 4-note walk to the second part just to do something. It kind of drives it and also sets it off a little bit. Maybe just do all bass notes for the walk into the second part. That's what I did there. Okay, sounds like a little vamp. And then for the second part, let's see what we have here. It's going to go from A to a D. So you have that A chord. Again, I'm doing, this time you can either do 5 and 4 or you can use the 6th string. You can do that. Then you're going to walk up 2, 4 on the 5th to the 4th string, a D chord. And that's just going to have a picking a strum for D there. So A chord. I'm using the low bass. Let's try it both ways to the D. You can do that. And some people might like to use that 4th string, 5 and 4 again. I kind of like that too. Either one of those works great. Then we're back to A again. And we have an E chord, maybe 6 and 5. A whole measure of E. That's where it's going. Ba da 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 da. You're back to A. Da 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 da. D walk again. And then we stay on that D. I'm doing the thumb hook. Da da do. Boom. E and an A chord. And a walk. So second part. Da 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 da. I'm sorry. Boom. D chord. Gotta be on the right part. E chord. D walk. Then the E chord comes up after the D thumb hook. I'll do that again. That's the first time. D walk. And there's that ba da 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 E chord there. Go back to the first part. What I've done on the tab that I'm putting in the with this is I've gone up and did a high variation just for fun on the first 4 strings, doing some nice chord work for practice. And it might work, it might not. It depends on the fiddlers as to what they like. You want to stay just straight and good old open chords works great for fiddle tunes. But just for fun and just for guitar practice, what I've done for the first part of variations, go think of your F chord. You're barring the first 2 frets on the first fret, for F chord, and then you got that second finger on the third string, 2nd fret, and the 4th string, 3rd fret. So that's a movable chord. If I back that up and kept my first strings open, you have an E chord there, right, without a bar. So a lot of the way the bar chord works, you got shapes that you can bar and move around. They make movable forms. So there's my E chord, and I move it to the 3rd, 2nd fret, and I have bar that. So we can take it all the way down to the 5th fret. And that would be a nice A chord. So on that first part where it goes, it goes from A to G, right? So we can have that 5th fret bar, and I'm going to pick my 4th string and just strum 2 strings. Let's just try that a few times. 4 and 3 for my basses. So that's my first little move for A. Then I'm going to do a little walk down on that 4th string, scoot that down, that 3rd finger down, to the G. A to G is a whole step. So I'm going to do that a couple. That's the first little variant, nice way to play. A chord, and walk that bass down, 7, 6, 5. There's your G chord, right? Then you got to change shape. So there's your first A to G maneuver, the same form. Now, if you played, let's see. Let's do another thing. Think about how to get a bar chord. Play a C chord, a 2-finger C chord for a second. So that's just leaving out my 3rd finger there. I'm playing the 2nd fret, 4th string, open 3rd, and that 1st fret, 2nd string, open 1st string. If I wanted to move that, I'd have to change fingers first. So I'll use my 2nd finger where on the 2nd string like that. So, and then I'd have to be the barring when I move up from C. If I wanted to go a whole step to D, I'd have to move 2 frets and bar like that. So that's a good thing to practice, doing a C chord with your smaller fingers, 2 and 3 and scoot it down, and you get a nice folky sound without that. But barn. So anyway, my maneuver now, I'm going to go from D, and I'm going to pick the bass. I'll pick 4 string and those 2 strings for strummers. Then I'm going to walk down back to that first shape I talked about, doing that E chord with an open string. So we're back to our first form there. So I'm going to do that. Let me just let you hear what I've got here. This is just something you could try. And again, the open chords sound fine, and this might not be something you want to incorporate into backing up the fiddle tune right away, but it's great just to think about how the different string sets can give you a lot of different variety. And it might be a nice just variation to throw in there. If you're playing this for 30 minutes in a nice jam, you might want to throw it in and see how it goes. See if the fiddlers like it. If they don't like it, you'll know pretty soon. They'll give you a look. So anyway, here's the A chord. I'm on the 5th fret bar, and I'm down the 7th fret. I'm picking the 4th string and strumming the first 2, and then the 3rd string is an alternate bass. Then I walk the bass down, 7, 6, 5, same form with a strum. Then I got to change. I'm changing that bar. You can just think about a D chord and do it with your bar on the first 3 strings and getting that 2nd finger on the 3rd fret, and you reach over that 3rd finger, picking that just to pick strum on the 4th, strum the first 2 and the 3rd string, and then walk down and get that back to that high part of an E chord. Okay, and then I'm going to do that again. Back to A. And this time, the second time, it goes quicker. That D bar, right to that E chord, and an A chord. And you can just get back up. So there's the whole variation. Kind of fun. The second inning's quicker, right? D to E. And then when you're back to the first regular chords, you're going to be back to that, right? First bars. That's the part we just did on the high variation, right? So what you would do, if you do the high variation, I didn't give you a variation on the second part, but you could think about that because just remember you're going from A to D. But so let's do that. I'll do the high variation, go to the second part regular, see if that works. Because that's the more you try things, you'll find some that work great and some that say, well, that was a good experiment, but it didn't work. But I think this will work. Let's try it. So the high variation, and I can do a little walk. And that would be in the scale, going from 4 to 6 to, or I might want to do a bluesy walk. Depends on how you're feeling that day. So we'll do a bluesy walk just for fun. So second part, and remember that this is the first part going to the second part. Sorry. So the high variation on the first part. So bluesy walk, first part. G, D. Second part, where you have that D walk. Back to the regular playing in first part. Do 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 do. First part regular. G G walk. D hang there, thumb hook, E chord. Do 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 do. Repeat that. Hold that D a while. To E. Second part. Second part. You can do the same bass sometimes. Works good too. It's kind of a nice thing to try over and over, or alternates good. Experiment. So I I think a really good thing to do is mix it up a bit. You know, you'll have, like I say, going from A chord, your 5th string to the 4th string sounds great, but also that low string sounds good for your alternate bass. Even so, either one, when you walk to D, or, and sometimes thinking about if you're playing with a bass player or not. Sometimes if they're playing with a bass, you know, they're going to be doing the lower notes, so you might like the higher, that 4th string as your alternate bass sometimes. So a lot of variables, but let's just think about before I wind up here. If we didn't do the G chord, what would that sound like? Because I'm curious myself. Because the melody goes da di do do da 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 ba da dum bom be ba dee ba dee ba doo ba doo ba doo. So if we stayed in A, here it is with the G one more time. Da 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 ba 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 dum bom ba ba da ba doo ba doo ba doo ba bom. So if I stay in A, let's see if it works or not. Because I'm curious. Da 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 ba 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 dum bom be ba dee ba doo. So it sort of works. You know, again, it's a preference thing. I kind of like the G, but if the fiddler gives you a look, you'll say, okay, I'll just stick with the A and C. And a lot of fiddlers will tell you right away if it's a modal tune. It works really good to stay on the A sometimes when a lot of notes, you know, are going to that G note. It's a bluesy sound for the A chord. So dissonance exactly, or a little bit of friction maybe. I think that's a good thing. So pay attention to the fiddlers you're playing with, and if you play the fiddle, you'll kind of know what you prefer already maybe. But really experiment. I think you'll like that high variation. And just think about, if you hadn't done bar chords very much, just think about the first 4 strings and the shapes you play down low with the open strings. Try to bar one and move it up and see what else you know, it just helps you play all over the fingerboard and gives you more variety and more fun in your playing. So, little Sally Ann, check out Snake Chapman if you haven't ever listened to his fiddling. And Paul David Smith, too, who played the banjo on a lot of recordings. And then in this recording, he kind of went to the D. He just stuck, he didn't put a G in there. But again, the banjo's got a little more freedom, I think, as to what you do. But check it out, see what you like, and experiment. Mainly just play a little bit every day. So, enjoy Little Sally Ann.